Sound check 1, 2, 3. Hello, hello, hello. Hold on for a while, guys. I'm just gonna test a few things right now. Okay, we will start very, very soon. Just make sure that the slides is all on. Let me hold on for a while, guys. Okay, I'm just gonna give like 2 more minutes, right? I'll be starting very soon. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the session for tonight, right? I have a few people in the room. If you are here right now, say hi to me, right? Just comment in the chat you are here. Hello, 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 hello. Okay, so hello guys, good evening. Welcome to the Authority on LinkedIn Facebook group. If you are watching this live, type #live. And if you are watching a replay of this later on, type #replay. First thing first, let me introduce myself. My name is Amin. I am one of the co-founder of POPCON. I'm currently the CEO of POPCONfest as well. And what we do in this Facebook group, just for the benefit of the newbies who are watching this for the first time, we go live here. Previously, we go live here every Monday night at 8:30 p.m. But there is a little bit of shuffling and also changes that's been happening in POPCON right now. And we've decided that moving forward, we are going to go live in this group every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. And what do we do when we go live? Usually what we do in our live training is that the 1 hour that you spend with us is designed as a way for us to be able to teach you certain tips and tricks that you can actually use in building your authority so that you will be able to generate more leads and sales using LinkedIn as one of the main platforms for you to be able to do that, all right? So tonight's session is going to be quite interesting. I noticed that there are a few people right now that's watching this. It'd be great if you guys can actually say hi to me in the comment, give us some love, give us some like, so that we'll be able to have like more people to be able to watch this session tonight as well. So just to get to know some of you guys here, if you guys are newbie in this group, type newbie, all right? If you guys have been here before, you have watched us live before, type popcorn. Okay. If you have watched our session before this, type popcorn. And if you guys are a newbie, just type newbie in the chat. So at least I know who is watching me tonight, right? So in tonight's session, it's going to be very valuable because I'm going to be talking to you about the power of LinkedIn messaging, right? And I'm going to give you guys like a framework that can actually help you to structure and also to be able to converse and bring conversations that you have with your cold leads on LinkedIn and moving them from being cold all the way until wanting to have a meeting and conversation with you, right? A little bit of context in terms of how did I actually learn this stuff, right? So a little bit of background about me. Prior to joining POPCON and prior to actually conducting training and also running trainings, I was actually involved in the contact center industry for quite some time, right? So one of the things and one of the jobs that I've been doing previously in the past is for me to actually do a lot of cold calling, right? So in the early years of my career, I have been trained and also been practicing cold calling as one of the method and also mechanism in terms of how I can actually generate more leads for my company, and also for me to be able to get more sales for my previous company as well. So at that time, I was still working with another organization, right? So what I realized is that a lot of the fundamentals of sales using phone, all right, and this is something that I also realized as well. In the past few years, for me, I feel that cold calling is no longer an effective method and mechanism that you can use for you to be able to generate conversation that will lead to an actual sales, right? The reason why that is happening now is because number one, the way people consume information and how people interact with one another has already changed, right? So now messaging, right? Chatting on either WhatsApp or chatting on Facebook and on the LinkedIn DM is one of the most efficient and effective way that you can actually use for you to be able to generate more leads and also to convert that lead into sales. Okay. And what I realized is that as much as the mechanism and the style have changed, but a lot of the fundamental things that we use in the contact center environment uh, can still be applied in today's environment. But the only thing that is different is the tool that you use. So previously, what you do is that in order for you to get buy-in from people is that you call them, right? But if you were to do that today, it's going to be very difficult for you to do that because most people nowadays prefer to be messaged. They prefer to prefer a message first before they want to engage with you. Yeah. So there's an additional barrier that you need to overcome for you to be able to connect with that person. Okay. And plus, I'm also very sure that a lot of people nowadays are already installing call identity apps in their phone. So the percentage of people who will basically pick up your call whenever you're cold calling them is going to be super low, right? Because the trust has not been established, and most of the time it's now considered as a common courtesy for you to message someone first before you can actually call them, right? So times have changed, the mechanism have changed, but some of the basic principles of communication and conversation can still be applied, right? So I did a research and study on this in the last few years, right? And finding ways on how we can adapt some of the foundation that we have in in the contact center environment, in cold calling environment, into today's environment where people are using messaging. Okay. And here's the thing about messaging. Messaging, I think, is one of the most powerful tool that a lot of people kind of like underestimate and have not really fully utilized the function. And for me personally, I love messaging because I think through messaging, compared to the old contact center style, right, when I'm doing cold calling style, I can actually reach more people through messaging compared to me doing phone call. So if I were to do like an appointment setter in 1 hour, in that 1 hour period, if I were in the call center period where I'm using cold calling, the number of effective call that I can make within that 1 hour is limited to maybe about 10 calls, 10 calls in that 1 hour. Yeah. So if I were to do messaging, I can actually approach more people and I can basically interact with a wider audience. Okay. So that's the one thing that I really like about messaging. Yeah. And that's something that I really want to talk to you guys tonight. Tonight, I really want to give you guys some formula and some tips that you can use so that you can actually kickstart a conversation on LinkedIn messaging without appearing salesy, without appearing desperate and annoying, using one of our 7-step pivotal conversation method, right? So in popcorn, right, in the world of popcorn, we believe in following these 7 steps, right? But because I only have like 1 hour tonight, maybe what I can do in tonight's session is to give you guys like a general framework of the 7 step and to zoom in on one of the topics, the 7 steps, because I personally feel even if you can actually apply one of this method tonight and you can apply it immediately tomorrow, right? When you are conversing with people on LinkedIn, you will definitely be able to get more value from it. Okay. So I just want to interact with some people who are currently in this session tonight. Hi, Jessica. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for watching us tonight. Right. It's an honor to have you here tonight. Guys, give us some love, give us some like in the chat, right? The more people engaging with this, the better it will be. Yeah. And tonight's session, I'm going to promise you that you guys are going to learn some tips and tricks that you can immediately apply it back into your LinkedIn messaging. Okay. Now, before I talk about the format, right? I really want to talk about the problem with LinkedIn messaging today, because I think this is something that needs to be addressed, because a lot of people are still doing it. Okay. So here's the thing. Every time when I speak to entrepreneurs, and every time when I speak to people when it comes to when it comes to topic about generating leads, generating sales, right, on LinkedIn, I get it that a lot of entrepreneurs understand that they need to create value first in order for them to be able to attract their leads, and also in order for them to be able to attract the clients. A lot of entrepreneurs understand that, right? They understand the value in authority building, right? They understand the value in terms of building your influence on social media. When you are considered as the go-to person in your industry, right? Rather than you chasing for the leads and sales, what will happen is that people would actually come to you because you have actually built that credentials and credibility, right? You have created that know, like, and trust factor. But one of the things I also realized, the reality is this: most entrepreneurs actually do not know how to do it, right? They get the concept, they understand the idea that they need to do it. So the problem is they don't know the actual structure. They do not know how to do it, right? So when they don't know how to do things, what happened is that they ended up operating from what they know, right? And they ended up operating from the idea of survival, because for them, I need to save my business, I need to get more leads, and I need to get my more sales, right? So the only way that they know how to do this is to basically to go to as many people as they can in the easiest way possible, because they're trying to find a shortcut way for them to be able to tell people, hey, you know what, I have this product, I have this brilliant stuff that I can do for you guys, and this thing that I have would definitely be able to help solve your problem, right? But the problem with that is this: the moment you start acting from a desperate mindset, right? You will no longer be connecting to the right client, because what you will actually do is that you will be attracting a different breed of people, okay? And you will not be able to strategize to really strategize your sales operation and your lead generation activity, yeah. And that is a problem, because when you don't know how to do things properly, okay, you start spamming people, you start spending money on automation that doesn't work, that at the end of the day, you interrupt people's life, and people will not be happy with it, okay? And when I ask the entrepreneurs the same question, if do you like people to come and interrupt your life with all of this spam message, I would say about 99% of them will say no, they don't like it. But here's the funny thing about this: if you don't like it, why do you still do it to people, right? So we ended up with people, because initially what happens is that they don't know, they start operating for a survival mode, they start spamming people, right? And they themselves don't even like to be spammed, but they still want to do it because that's the only way for them to be able to do it. That's the only thing that they know, yeah. So besides that, there's also a situation where entrepreneurs feel awkward when they reach out, and when they send the first message, conversation doesn't flow, and it doesn't generate interest for the other party as well, right? So you hear a lot of click when you are conversing with people. So you ask like a few questions, and then after that they answer the question, but you do not know where you want to lead them to, yeah. So that can be a problem, yeah. And also, because you have already received all of this rejection, yeah, you will also unconsciously develop this fear of wanting to message another person, okay? So this is something that we can overcome, right? Because of everything that we do here, what happened is this: because you do not know how to do it, your LinkedIn inbox at the end of the day will be filled with this kind of messages. How many of you can relate to this kind of messages? And if you have seen this kind of this type and kind of messages before, right? Type yes in the chat if you've seen this kind of message before, where people basically just spam you with a statement, hoping that you would want to buy or get the product from them, right? Without creating any permission, without creating any value for you, right? Basically, what's happening is that people are interrupting your life with this kind of message. Jessica, yes? Okay. Yeah, I receive this a lot. I can tell you straight out that I receive an average of about 10 to 20 messages like this on a daily basis in my own LinkedIn inbox. Okay. And this is really annoying. Another thing that you guys need to understand is that we are now at the age where interrupting people's life with sales pitch is no longer something that is cool. It's no longer something that people like. But we are still doing it, right? Where we don't know how to converse, we ended up spamming people because that's the only thing that we know how to do, right? Just curious to know, Jessica, how do you feel whenever you receive this kind of message? Type in the chat, guys, if you have received this kind of message before, and how do you feel whenever you receive this kind of message, right? Like for me personally, I feel super annoyed, right? And whenever I receive this kind of message, we are actually killing our own self, okay? When we do this, the real results that we get is not that we are getting any leads or sales. We are actually killing our own reputation, okay? We create some form of perception in terms of our own brand as well, yeah? And at the same time, we will be unconsciously known as the spammy entrepreneurs. That's not the one thing that you want people to remember you as, yeah? Yeah. So your message got ignored, right? Or like what Jessica said, she usually ignore it. And yeah, they feel they want money exactly, Sophia. Right? Unless if it's relevant to you. Okay, thank you for sharing that, Jessica. Yeah. So a lot of time your message got ignored or got deleted by your audience, or worse, what would happen is that your potential client might actually report you to LinkedIn, and then you ended up getting into trouble because of this activity that you do. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why we in Popcorn don't really love we love automation, but we are really against anything to do with bots where people spam you with so much message through LinkedIn. Yeah, it can get you into trouble. Okay, now what you really want to start receiving in your inbox is this kind of message. Okay, and I receive this a lot every time when I create content or every time when I'm having conversation with people. You get people to feel inspired. That is the kind of conversation you want to have. Yeah, because when you are inspiring people and when you get people to get excited, right, you will be able to move the conversation from one stage to the other. Okay, the idea is what you want to do is that when you take a look at conversations, yeah, on messaging, you are actually facilitating the activity, moving them from a complete stranger where you don't know what their problem is, and slowly moving them from one stage to the other, right? From a stranger to building that rapport, and then after that, getting to know what the problem is, and then qualifying them and understanding if they are actually the right fit for you, and then moving the conversation to see if this person is the right fit that you can invite for perhaps a one-on-one call, right? Now, you have to understand this. If you are an entrepreneur in the service industry, and what you are selling is service-based, right? Like coaches, financial planners, okay? Anything to do with you using your voice, using your, in the Malay word, we call it ailio, right? Using your ailio to sell your product and services, okay? The main way for you to be able to close the call or to close a client is the meeting. So the objective right now is for you to be able to get clients to want to have a meeting with you. And by the time they want to have that meeting with you, they are already 50% sold to the idea and the solutions that you want to give to them. That is what you want to build. That's the kind of objective that you want to have when you're having conversation with people, right? Get them to be at least 50% sold so that by the time you are having a meeting with them on a one-on-one, The only thing that you need to do right now is to be able to really close them during the meeting. That's a different topic altogether. I'm not going to talk about that, right? So that's what you really want to have in your inbox, okay? So in today's training, what I really want to do in the next maybe another 40 minutes, half an hour, yeah, I want to give you guys like an overview of the 7 steps pivotal conversation method, right? That can really help you to basically get the clients that you want, right? And you can use this method as a way for you to be able to generate buying conversations, right? So it's a complete method, okay? Right? So this is something that I'm going to show you tonight. So another thing that I'm going to be showing you tonight is that I'm going to share with you one of the steps out of the 7 steps, right? Because I only have about a few minutes with you guys. So I will show you one of the steps, but this one step, if you can actually utilize it and use it in your own conversation, it will give a lot of value for you and you can really kickstart the conversation immediately, right? And that's what I'm going to be doing tonight. I'm going to talk to you guys about the step-by-step method. I'm going to show you the whole framework. And then after that, from there, I'll give you one of the 7, okay? So let's take a look at the framework right now. Let me just open this up for you. Where is it? Hold on for a while. There you go. Okay, so let's take a look at the framework, okay? So in total, yeah, there are 7 steps for you to be able to move a total stranger that you may not know before this and bring them on a journey, on a step-by-step journey, where at the end of the day, what you want to do is that you want to get them to have a one-on-one meeting with you or a presentation call with you. Okay, so that's the game changer activity, right? And if you actually practice this step one by one, you will definitely be able to not only increase your opening rate for your messaging, you will be able to build good rapport with them. You will be able to really converse flawlessly, right? And being able to identify what are the problems that they have, understand what are some of the things that's going on in their life right now, and moving that conversation into a solution conversation where they want to know your solution, right? And from there, you can go into a deep dive invite. You invite them for a call, right? And this is something that I really like about inviting them for a call. You will also be able to increase the possibility of them not running away from the meeting. So the possibility for them to attend the meeting is going to be higher, right? Where you will be able to get them to want to attend the meeting. Okay, you will get them to want to have the session with you, and they're excited when they want to have a session with you. Okay, and this is something that we actually teach in our 14 weeks program in POPCON. And I'm going to go through that step one by one. Okay, so what are the 7 steps? Okay, so the first step is what we call chat like a millennial. So chat like a millennial is actually a mindset, right? It's the mindset before you actually go into the conversation. Okay, and for me, mindset really matters. So whenever you want to go into a conversation, it is important for you to have a mindset of wanting to solve people's problem. Okay, and number 2, and I noticed this. I'm just going to give you guys a brief on this. Okay, I noticed a lot of people on LinkedIn whenever they're whenever they're having conversation with you, right? They sound very formal, right? They sound so it sounds very rigid and it's no longer authentic. Yeah. So as much as LinkedIn is a professional platform, what you want to do is that you want to start chatting like a millennial. So if you take a look at the way millennials chat, right, it's very conversational based, right? It's the way they interact with each other is very engaging. You need to understand that when you want to interact with another human being, you need to be a human being first. Okay. So that's the first thing that we usually teach in our program. So we actually talk about the mindset that you need to have, and to basically support you in terms of what are some things that you need to prepare before you actually come into the messaging mode. Yeah. The second part is the red dot. I'm going to talk about tonight. I'm going to be spending a lot of my time to talk about step number 2, because step number 2 for me is a very important step, because step number 2 is all about setting the context and getting people to want to have a conversation with you through a good opener. That's what the red dot is about. Okay, I'll talk about that in more in-depth detail after this. Okay. The third skill is the state transition. So what is that? It's actually a method that we use and we teach our students, where we can actually get our students to move effortlessly from one topic to another topic. And if it felt so flawless to a point that you feel so intimate in your conversation with the client, right? So there's a way to transition. If you know how to transition it well, okay, there's so many angles and conversation that you can create in that messaging, okay? True facts, guys. True facts. In order for you to be able to move people from one stage to the other, you cannot just hope and think that you can close them in 3 to 4 messaging. That's ridiculous. It's not going to happen. The real art is for you to be able to really have the conversation and move it along to a few other conversations as well. So usually, how long does it take? I would say an average of about 14 to 15 conversation for you to be able to get them to move from getting to know you, rapport building, qualifying them, and then at the end of the day, getting them for an invite. Okay, so at least about 14, 15 average, and that's what you need to do. Yeah, being able to transition and being able to have a chit chat in the most informal, rapport building, practical way, right? And if you know how to apply the step number 4, which is the sandwich chit chat, I call it the sandwich chit chat. There's a reason for it, why we call it sandwich chit chat. Maybe perhaps in one of the other live after this, I'll talk about that. Yeah. So the sandwich chit chat is the ability for you to be able to do a probe and to qualify in the most friendliest way possible, that your client will not feel like as if they are being interrogated, but they feel like as if they are talking to their best friend, right? A best friend that actually know and understand that they are having a problem and you are the one person that can help them to solve that problem. Okay. So step number 4 is about having that chit chat. How do you do it? Yeah. Step number 5 is the deep dive invite. Okay. Because one thing that I realized that you can't do so much in chat. Yeah. And I think this is an advantage because when you're doing chatting, okay, there's only so much you can talk about. If you really want to go deep into really solving a person's issue, it is always better to actually have an actual conversation. Either it's a Zoom call or either it's a meeting where you actually meet face to face, okay? Where you can go deeper into the conversation and really solve the person's problem, right? So the limitation of the messaging is actually a good news for us, because from there, you can move the conversation from the messaging into an actual deep dive conversation where you can invite them to that, because there's only so much things that you can actually do through messaging itself, right? But of course, through the messaging, there's a certain things that you can identify in terms of the hot button, some of the problems that they have, some of the pain that they have, right? And you can use that as a vehicle for you to go deeper, right? An example for this, you can come up with a statement and say, hey, you know what? I really started to understand what you're going through right now. And I would really love to deep dive into a deeper conversation with this, on this. Would it be possible for us to actually have a conversation on this via Zoom? See, now when you do the invite, then, right, it becomes more powerful because by that time, okay, the rapport has already been built, right? The engagement has already been done, and people are more comfortable with you, and the opportunity for you to invite them is actually higher. Okay, so that's why you don't invite them so early in the game. A lot of people like to do these kind of mistakes. Yeah. And then the affirmation. What is the affirmation? The affirmation is a step that we do to secure your invite and make sure that your prospect will not run away. Okay. In fact, they will not want to run away. They will insist that they want to meet with you. Okay. And they got so excited to go into the deep dive because of the steps that you do in the affirmation steps, right? So some examples of the affirmation steps. What do? We send them some homework for them to complete, right? So there's a lot of other things that we do as well, and this is something that we actually teach in our 14 weeks program as well. And step number 7 is the slipstream. Okay, what is the slipstream? Slipstreaming is actually a popular term that we use in the racing world, where drivers usually will leverage on the on the car that's leading the pack, and they use the car that's leading the pack as a way for them to just follow them, so that they will be able to save more energy and time, right? So for us in Popcorn, slipstream is a term that we use to follow up on the client to ensure that they will 100% attend our call. Okay, so that's one of the things that we do in the 7-step pivotal conversation method. So what we do in this method is that we actually bring them from a total stranger, right, with the right mindset, moving them from one step to the other step, to the other step, to the other step, to the other step, attend the meeting, get excited in the meeting, and by the time they attended the meeting with you, they are at least already 50% sold to the idea that you will be providing them with the solution and they would want to pay you. Okay? Are you guys getting this so far? Type yes in the chat if you guys are getting this. Okay? Okay. See a lot of people getting tagged here. Okay. Safia feel they want money. Can't wait to know what to do. Okay, got more. All right. So those are the 7 steps, right? And each of the 7 steps is designed to move people from one step to the other. Yeah. So for tonight, I think what I really want to do is that I want to help you guys to overcome one of the problems that you have, which is how do you actually get people to want to have a conversation with you? Okay. How do you get them to, how do you open a conversation? Okay. I like to use archery. I just attended an archery session, I think about a month ago, right? I love it. I think it's a brilliant exercise that people need to do. And I think I got the inspiration from this session as well. So the thing is, when you do archery, right? And when you take a look at the target, unconsciously, for a lot of people, when they are pulling the target, right? They are always attracted to go for the center where the red dot is. Okay. And in archery, you start to realize that the red dot is where the biggest point is, right? And we always take an aim at our target, and subconsciously and unconsciously, we are attracted by the red dot, right? Because the thing about the red dot is that the red dot itself is different and unique compared to all the other circles in the target. So we have the black circle, we have the white circle, but then suddenly you have that red dot over there, right? Okay. Now, how do we use this terminology in our own conversation with people? Now, when you want to target and communicate with your ideal client, okay, one thing is for sure. So I'm going to look at it from an angle of the client first, and then after that, I'm going to look at it from the angle of us first, as the prospect, as the person who wants to approach the client. Okay, so you, as the client, okay, when they are on any social media platform like LinkedIn, for example, okay, when they create their profile, when they are engaging with people online, they have a lot of information that they use unconsciously, without them knowing this, to attract people to come to them. Okay? If not, they won't be on LinkedIn. Okay? Because they are also trying to find ways for them to be able to be seen out there as well. Right? So for me, whenever I wanted to connect with people, I always look for the red dot. People who wants to connect, people who wants to engage, people who are friendly, right? People who are basically active on LinkedIn. Okay. So I always target for the red dot. And when you go into their profile, you will see a lot of information over there that you can use as your own red dot, as your own target for you to actually trigger a conversation. Are you guys getting this so far? Type yes in the chat if you guys are getting this. Okay. Type yes in the chat if you guys know this. All right. So the idea is to target for the red dot. And then after that, identify some of the things that the red dot have that you can use in your own opening. Okay. And there's a whole lot of information over there. if you scroll to their profile, their header, their banner, their about, their experience, their content, their engagement, all of those can be used as a way for them to, as a way for you to harness and trigger a conversation. Okay, so that's what you want to do. Identify the red dot on that side. And for you also need to become a red dot, because when a red dot and a red dot comes together, it's like an eagle and eagle coming together. Okay, so when you are conversing, when you are having a conversation, right, there are ways that you can do for you to be able to differentiate yourself in terms of your approach when starting a conversation. And I'm going to give you one example on this. Every time whenever it's my birthday on LinkedIn, it's like a nightmare for me. You want to know why? Because suddenly on that day, I'm receiving like hundreds to about thousands of messages from people who are sending happy birthday message to me randomly. They just send happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. But what I realized, out of all of the messages that I receive, hardly few of them that is very unique or different from the others, right? People are basically just randomly just sending happy birthday message. But what I'm attracted with are the people that are sending the different type of message that gets me excited. When I see that kind of message, I get excited because why? Unconsciously, I'm telling myself, wow, this guy really care, because they actually take an effort to want to have a conversation with me. Okay? So again, guys, identify the red dot, right? And you also become the red dot too, right? And that's the game that you want to do when it comes to having a conversation with people. It's all about being personalized, guys. This is something that bots and automation cannot do, right? And it really annoys the shit out of me whenever I receive those kind of message. Yeah, you really need to care, not just believe. Get them to believe that you will care, but you really need to care, right? I would rather that I would rather spend 10 messages in a day rather than 100 messages in a day. But at the end of the day, those 100 messages are spam messages, right? So go with that relationship approach first. Yeah. Always look for the red dot and you become a red dot yourself. So when you do that, right, when you identify the target and you also become that person, the conversation can be triggered. Yeah. Now, another thing that I really like to do, okay? This is something that's happening in LinkedIn right now, where I call it the messaging perch, where people come to you and send you this kind of message. The moment they connected, or even before they get connected to you, they send this message, right? With request, statement, opinion, call to action, invite, content, question, and anecdote. You guys can relate to this? Okay? One long message, right? Click on this link for you to do this, da, 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 da. What do you do with that? Most of the time, you just ignore, delete, and just maybe they will report you for basically interrupting their life. This is not how you approach a red dot, right? There's a step-by-step method on how you approach a red dot. So how do you do that? For you to be able to approach a red dot, right? First thing you want to do is you want to start with an opening, with a hook or an ice-breaking question that gets people to get super excited. And then after that, of course, there'll be a normal conversation. They will answer the question, and then you can answer with an anecdote. So what you're doing is that rather than putting everything into one message, right, where it doesn't actually feel like an actual conversation, there's no flow in it, you want to start putting it bit by bit and actually having a flow of conversations. So it becomes like super flexible when you're engaging with a person, right? And this will go for a few rounds. You hook, then you answer, right? Or you can answer with an anecdote, right? Opinion, questions, answer, value. So if you can do this really well, you can move the conversation because it becomes really personal. And at the same time, the process of getting question and answered become flawless, right? So how do you actually do this? How do you create a good opening statement, right? Now, in photography, and I studied neuro-linguistic programming, so I like to use neuro-linguistic programming and photography as one of the best example that you can use when you can use it as an approach for you to be able to start the conversation, right? So I call this method the pattern interrupt model. Okay. So the pattern interrupt is used in both the photography and the NLP world, right? So in photography, pattern interrupt is when you deliberately disrupt the pattern or use a single element from the pattern to create the contrast within the composition, right? So if you take a look at the army there, everything is like everyone's very serious, and then suddenly you have like one person opening out his mouth like that, right? And even with the Trisha over there, you have like everything blue, and then suddenly you got the two nun over there. Everything is green, then suddenly you got the yellow over there. Now, by just doing this pattern interrupt model, you have actually differentiate yourself from all the other message opening out there, right? A lot of people receive a lot of message every day, but hardly some of these messages are something that wants to get them to want to connect, right? So pattern interrupt is one of the best strategy that you can actually use when you want to trigger and start a good conversation or an opening. Yeah. So in NLP, pattern interrupt involves recognizing unwanted pattern and disrupting it and leading it someone to desired behavior. So we can use this, guys, for our opening. And I receive a lot of messages on LinkedIn. One of the messages I received before this, I really got to give a good example of this, right? So this guy by the name of Noah, right? Really like what he does. And one day he just sent me this message and says, "Dear Santa, I like a bicycle." Oh, wait a minute, you're not? My bad. And they put my first name there. So you're also a fan of Dan Matter's content. Love the SaaS pitch deck he gave away in his post the other week. A great point of reference as we scale. Let's connect, Noah. Okay. And then that was the first message. About 15 minutes later, he sent me a picture of him with the cup. Okay. And after that, he has like another one, which is very informal and is very, very friendly. Sounds super friendly. Okay. And the way he does it is, this is a good example of a pattern interrupt. Basically just coming in and do something a bit different compared to the rest. And I feel that I want to get connected to him because of this. Okay. So this is a good example that you can use for you to be able to create your own pattern interrupt message. And this is something that will definitely help you to increase the opening rate for your first message itself, right? So of course, pattern interrupt, conversation again, question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. And after that, there's also the application of the 7 steps that I teach you just now, right? So just to give you a good review back on the 7 step, let me just show it back to you. Okay. And the 7 steps. So basically what I teach you to you guys tonight is basically just step number 2, which is the red dot, right? And in the red dot, it really helps you to be able to open, to get people to open up the message because it looks different, feels different, and it's also something that can really trigger conversation, right? Now, so what can you do after this, right? What can you do to kickstart and also to increase your opening rate after this? I'm going to give you guys some tips after this, okay? So some of the tips that you guys can do after this, and what can you do moving forward after today's training? One thing that I would definitely advise you guys to do is, number 1 is to search and filter for active prospect on LinkedIn, okay? And stop chasing for the date or the dormant profile. Doesn't really help, okay? No point of you to just chase them. It's going to be a waste of your time. So what you want to do is that you want to look for your own red dot, okay? The active ones, the ones that wants to be seen, the ones who wants the attention, right? Give them the attention, right? Give them that, start that conversation with them. And ideally, once you have identified the red dot, right? So you also need to start behaving like a red dot too. Ideally, you should be engaging with the prospect first, okay? Before you outreach. So that means before you actually send them a connection request, maybe perhaps if you see some of the articles that they write, right? And that you can comment on them, you can like some of the things that they do, engage with them for a few rounds first, and then from there, start the outreach campaign, right? My rule of thumb is maybe about 2 to 3 outreach, then start the conversation on the direct messaging, right? Now, when you are looking into their profile, right, when you identify the red dot that you wanted to connect with, what you want to do is that you want to take a look into some of the things that some of the important messages that they put in their profile that you can use as a conversation starter, right? Red dots wants to be known and seen. They have already put all of the information in their LinkedIn profile. Use that to your advantage. Use that as a conversation starter, right? look for their favorite topic. Example, if they are a financial planner, then speak about financial planning, right? If they are a coach, if they are a leadership coach, maybe something that they really are passionate about, then you can talk about leadership coach. Yeah. So look into specific topic that they are passionate about and use that as a conversation starter. Yeah. And once you have identified the topic you want to talk about, then start the conversation with the red dot with a huge pattern interrupt in their messages. Right. And then the rest of it, after that, what you need to do is to start applying all of the 7 steps that we actually teach in our 14 weeks program. Okay. I hope you guys have like a little bit of pieces of the 7 steps, right? But just to close up the conversation for tonight, so again, just like in any other trainings that I do, what we do is that we basically just cover a little bit of it. And if you really want to know more about the 7 steps, right? And if you're interested to know more on how to actually apply the 7 step into your daily conversation on LinkedIn, right? And you're interested to know more about it, I would like to invite each and every one of you who are watching this session tonight to have a conversation with me. Okay. So we have this thing, we have this 14 years program that we run for the last 2 years, and it has actually developed a lot of influencers on the LinkedIn platform where they are actually using LinkedIn as a way for them to be able to build their authority. And from there, they are also able to generate more leads and sales for their business, right? So one of the things that we do in our program is that in order for you to be able to be enrolled into the program, and if you're interested to know more about how we can actually help you in applying and implementing all of the 7 steps, type 7 in the chat. And what will happen is that by tomorrow, okay, by tomorrow morning, I will be sending you a personal message on LinkedIn to invite you to have a one-on-one call with me. And during that one-on-one call, what we're going to do is that we're going to go and look at and deep dive into some of the problems that you have. And it's also an opportunity for me to get to know you as well and to see if we are right. If we are a right fit and we feel that we can work together, then perhaps I can get you to rock and roll and kickstart you on our 14 weeks program. And if this is something for you, then we can work together, then perhaps we can continue the conversation from the session itself. So if you're interested to know more about the 7 steps pivotal conversation, right, and how you can actually apply this back into your actual business, type 7 in the chat, and I will definitely be in touch with you by tomorrow latest, right? And I hope that you guys have learned something valuable from tonight. So before I end the session tonight, maybe, yes, the program is 14 weeks. It's a 14 weeks program, right? Thank you, Goman. So if you, before I end the session tonight, maybe what we can do now is this. Maybe you guys can type in the chat what are some of the things that you have learned from tonight's session, right? If you can type in the chat what you have learned from tonight's session, just as a recap from today's session. God mod. I'm interested to know you. You have a very interesting name, God mod. It's 14 weeks in duration. It's not daily. If you'd like to know more about it, let's have a conversation, God mod. Joshua, thank you for putting 7 there. Yeah, it's not daily, but we actually have a method that you can use to learn. Right, we usually do a lot of weekly meetup. Yeah, Joshua 7, Pagasan name. The right step to approach. 7, differentiate yourself by doing a red dot. Thank you, K as well. I'll speak to you tomorrow. Yeah. Siti Hanisa, the right step to approach. Very good. All right. Very nice and colorful diagram. Thank you, Keanu. Okay. 7. All right. I'll get in touch with you, Robert. Okay, and with that, if there is, if that's it, if that's the only 2 lessons and learning that I got from tonight, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, if you are interested to get the slides from me, right? If you want to get a copy of the slides from me, type slides in the comment, and I will personally message you as well. Okay. If you want to have a copy of the slides, type slides in the comment. I will definitely be in touch with you as well, and I will actually give you a copy of it when it is ready. Okay. And with that, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night. Have a good evening. Have a good week. I'll see you again soon. All right? Bye.